Okay. Good morning, students. My name is Ihejimagha, Mrs. Modeling. I'm here to teach you Agric Science. Our topic is forest management. Forest management. Okay. Before we go into the topic, we first of all have to know what we mean by forest. Forest. Then forestry. Forestry. So at the end of this lesson, you have to know the meaning of forest, the meaning of forestry, and the difference between forest and forestry. What are those things we can derive from the forest? Why is it important to have trees around you? What are the benefits? What will the government gain? What will the individuals gain? And then the society as a whole in this topic. First, we go to the meaning of forest. What do we mean by forest? Forest is a vast area of land where trees are planted. And then when we say trees, it includes shrubs, herbs, the younger trees. From your primary knowledge, you know what we mean by shrubs. You know what we mean by herbs. These are what you have done before. Younger plants, little plants that you can transplant. Then trees, the giant trees, the big trees. Then forestry. What do we mean by forestry? Forestry is the study of these trees, various trees, because they are different trees, different species. And then the organisms, the living things that are living in the forest. That's what we are going to look into this topic. Now, first of all, we look at forest. Vast area of land. Of land with trees. Then forestry. Forestry is the study of the various trees. And the organisms that are living in the forest. So first of all, we look at forest. Why is forest important? What can we derive from the forest? Importance. Of forest. Yes. Importance of forest. One, from the forest, we can get a lot of things. One, timber. Number one, timber. When we cut the trees, we cut them into small, sizes. And these are the timbers we use in building houses, bridges, canoes, so on and so forth. Then from the forest, we can also get meat. what we normally call the bush meat. Those animals that live there, when they are killed or when they die, they supply us with meat, bush meat. Very sweet, very palatable. Then from the forest, we can also get pulp. Pulp. We use pulp in making papers that we use. Some of our tissues, like with the one we call okwiboko, it's made from pulp, and pulp is from trees. Then we get also glue from the forest that we call gum, we use in holding our papers together. From the forest, we also get herbs, traditional herbs, some of the herbs that some doctors use in treatment of diseases. Herbs. Okay. Forests also provide us with leaves, vegetables that we eat. They are very nutritious and they contain very high source of food nutrients that helps in bodybuilding. Then from forest, we can get, from the forest, we can also get meat. I have mentioned it. Forests also, the roots of the plants help to bind the trees, and then they help in soil fertility. They help in soil fertility, binding our soil together. That helps to prevent erosion, erosion control. Okay. Then some of the leaves from the trees in the forest, when they fall, they decompose. And when they decompose, they turn to humus. They turn to humus, thereby enriching the soil, making the soil to be very fertile. Trees from the forest also help to give us fresh air, like we know from their knowledge that during photosynthesis, plants make use of carbon dioxide and then release fresh oxygens, which we human beings use. So we get fresh air, fresh oxygen from the trees around. Then, trees also supply the nation with revenue. Revenue. Money. When we say revenue, we think of money. When these things are collected from the forest, they are shifted or they are sold to other nations, and then we get foreign exchange. Forests also provide us with employment. Employment. Yes, those people who work in the forest, who take care of these trees, they are paid, and that is their work. There's a source of income. At the end of the month, they are paid salary. So it's a source of employment to them, and so on. There are so many. If we continue talking about the importance of forests, we won't exhaust this today. Now we go to the management, the actual topic, management. Management of forest. Yes. There are some forest management. You know, those trees, remember, trees are living things. So they need to be taken care of so that they can last long, so that they can produce well, and then we get what we need from them. They are living things. So people are employed, like we mentioned, that's a source of employment. People are employed to take care of them. For anything to work well, you know that there must be rules. the do's and the don'ts. And under this, we have what we call forest regulation. Forest regulations. Yes. What do we mean by forest regulations? What you do in the forest and what you don't do. There are certain things you do in the forest and it will attract fine. So the rules. 1. You are not expected to cut trees anyhow. So before you are allowed to cut, you must obtain permission, license from the government before you are allowed to cut. That's one of the forest regulations. And then, if you are given the license, there are certain species of trees that you cut. What are these species? The species, the type you cut, within a short time, they will grow back. And there are certain species that are desirable, they are good. So, and the government wants to retain this type of species. There are certain that are not so desirable, so economical. So, there is need to eliminate, to cut down those species and then sell and use so that they can give room, space for the others that are desirable to grow well. 2. Another regulation is people are not allowed to do hunting in the forest. Allow people, anybody coming in, to shoot, to kill animals, and so on. It's a rule, it's a law. If you are caught doing this, you'll be sanctioned. You'll be taken to court and then judged. If it attracts fine, you pay, or you'll be jailed. There must be a punishment for that. People are not allowed. Then another, people are not allowed to come to the forest. Like during Christmas and New Year, you use your knockouts and so on and so on. It's not allowed for people to go to the forest and start shooting knockouts, guns, and so on, because they affect the trees in the forest. These are the rules and regulations. And then the use of wildfire, setting ablaze the forest, and this fire will destroy the trees. It's a law under forestry. You are not allowed to do that. So these are some of the forest regulations. Then we have what we call afforestation. And the forest is also part of the management. What do we mean by afforestation? Planting new trees. You know, in a forest, there are some trees that are old enough. They die. Not that people cut them. They die as a result of old age. Some of them are diseased. Some of them have pests. And as a result of that, they start dying. They won't produce more. They won't grow tall. And so on. So planting new ones to replace these worn out ones is what we know as afforestation. And then in places where there are spaces, trees are growing in the forest, but there might be some spaces that are open where there are no trees. The new ones are planted there. That process is what we know as afforestation. Then we have deforestation. That's another management. Deforestation. Okay. Remember, we said afforestation is planting new ones to replace the worn out ones. Then deforestation is the opposite of afforestation. What do we mean by deforestation? Cutting down trees without replacement. You continue cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting. By the time you know it, after some time, there will be no more trees in the forest. No more trees. And then that place will be exposed to erosion. There are reasons why people practice deforestation without knowing the effects. One, when there is timber hunger, people need timber, especially those who are selling wood, timber for furniture making, for chair making, for building houses. There's need. They want to make money. So people go into the forest and cut trees and sell for them to use. Then another, the government at times encourage it, cause it. When the price of fuel, kerosene, is very high, people cannot afford to buy kerosene because of the high price. So people resort to cutting wood so as to use firewood in their cooking. We call it as a result of increase in fuel costs. When we say fuel, we don't mean petrol alone. The firewood that we use for our domestic uses. So when the price of kerosene is very high, assuming a bottle of kerosene is 500 naira, so many people cannot afford it. They resort to using wood in cooking. And when people resort to using wood, you see there will be hunger. There will be need for people to cut wood and sell, for people to buy and use. Then in that case, people go to the bush, to the forest, and cut trees and sell so as to make money. Deforestation. Then another thing that can encourage it is when the weather is not pleasant. There is lightning, there's thunder, very heavy rainfall, rain blast, and so on. So in our times, these are natural disasters. We are lucky in Nigeria, we don't have tornado, those heavy wind. But when it happens, trees are cut down on its own. Trees are cut down. You see branches of trees cutting down in the forest, trees falling, and then people cut them and use as firewood. So that's another cause for deforestation. Then another is when there is hunger, unemployment. People don't have job. People don't have any serious things to do to while away their time. So they resort to going to the forest to cut down trees and sell to get money. These are some of the causes of deforestation. Cutting down without replacement. In fact, in the north, this deforestation is very serious in the north. In the north, we are lucky in this part of our country because of the rains. Trees grow anyhow. But if you go to the north, there are places in the north where you don't have trees around. Like we said, very close to the desert areas. If you go to Zamfara, far north, you observe what we are saying. And then when the wind is blowing, the wind comes with a very high force to pull down houses. Okay. Then we have what you call regeneration, another management of the forest. Regeneration. Yes, another forest management. What do we mean by regeneration? You see, we said in the forest there are many species of trees, different species. Some of them, when you cut them, within a short time, they grow on their own. From the buds, new branches will come out and then grow into a full-grown tree. But there are certain species, when you cut them, that is the end of them. So those species that can grow back, they are cut at a higher rate, knowing fully well that when you cut them, they still grow on their own. Let me give you a typical example. The melina tree we see. You see, if you have melina trees around you, you see that when you cut melina or you prune it, you know what I mean by cutting off the sides. Within a short time, you see the branches coming out again, growing into full melina. These are the type of species of plants I'm talking about. So when trees that when you cut down, they grow back on their own. That process is what we call regeneration in forest management. Regeneration, growing back on its own without anybody growing them or planting them. Then we have another process we call fungi system. Fungi system. Okay. What do we mean by fungi system? Fungi system is a system in the forest, system of management of the forest, where the trees are planted in the forestry. And then at the same time, those people working in the forest use the opportunity on that same piece of land to plant their arable crops. So the trees will be growing, the food crops will also be growing at the same time. At the same time in the forest. So the workers who work there use the opportunity. They work in the forest, they are employed, they are paid. So they use the opportunity to use free land, those land in the forest. They plant their crops. And what they normally plant are annual crops. The maize, the groundnut, the soya bean, and so on, okra. So they harvest and then also look after, take care the forest trees at the same time. And then when they plant leguminous crops there, like the groundnut, the bambara nut, remember the importance of leguminous crops. They fix nitrogen to the soil at the same time. So the owners of the forest will gain the advantage of those people working there, planting their leguminous crops, and then weed, because they will weed their crops so that their crops will do well, and at the same time weed the forest, at the same time making it neat to avoid pests and other animals from attacking the plants or the trees in the forest. That is the fungi system of planting. Okay. So having looked at it, the meaning of forest, forestry, and then the importance of forest, why it's necessary to have trees around you. You make use of the fresh air, at least, if not for any other thing. The fresh air you get from the trees. Then the other thing, controlling erosion, increasing the fertility of the soil, the revenue, and then a source of employment. Then these are the management practices in the forest. Okay, having gone through this, I would like you to do an exercise. First of all, you have to explain, take down, what do we mean by forest? What is forestry? Then list 5 forest management practices you have studied. 5 management practices you have studied, and explain each and every one of them. So with that, in our next class, we are going to go through and see how far we have gone. Thank you.